Well, today's video is going to be a doozy because last week, over half of my sales were items that sold in 14 days or less. Hi, my name is Cayley, and if you are new here, welcome. I left my corporate job many years ago to do reselling full-time. I've been doing some form of reselling online for over 10 years, and I decided to make a YouTube channel about it to tell everybody all of the things that I didn't know when I was trying to learn reselling. Some of the best videos to learn from, in my opinion, are what sold videos because they are what is actually moving, what buyers are searching for, and what's flipping quickly. And so I do these every single week. I am seeing my sales come out of that summer slowdown slump and head towards Q4. Let's dive right in. So as always, I am going to be sharing over eBay, Poshmark, and Depop. Those are the three platforms that I list on, and I use Nifty, which is a cross-lister, to do so. I also use it for things like automation, sending out offers, relisting stale inventory, all that good stuff. I get asked that question a lot, so if you're interested, there's a link to Nifty down below where you can get a free week trial. Try it out for yourself. But this one was a result of cross-listing. Previously, I started everything on eBay, and I've slowly branched into mastering other platforms, with this one, Depop, being the most recent one that I've added, and it's proven to be an actually pretty good store for me. And so I had a lot of sales on Depop last week. You're going to see a theme. Not every sale on Depop is what people think of as style-based stuff. A lot of them are also brand-based. So you're going to see those in today's video. The first one is Lululemon. Now, this is a brand that resellers used to think of as a bolo brand. It's become very oversaturated in my opinion, but the things that I still like looking for are the men's pants being one of them. And this one is a pair of men's joggers. They were called the Pull-On City Sweat joggers. They were also in a larger size, so that helps to sell them as well. And I have these listed for $37 on Depop. They actually sold for my full asking price of what I cross-listed them for the very same day that I got it listed. Now, the good thing about Depop is they have very low fees compared to other platforms. So even though these sold for around $37, I actually still made $35.11. Next up, another Depop sale, another Lululemon piece. I've mentioned it before, but Lululemon, you know, it's been harder and harder to sell on places like eBay and Poshmark, but I found out on Depop, it actually moves pretty quickly. So if you're somebody who has a lot of Lululemon that just isn't moving, consider cross-posting to Depop. So this is a pair of men's shorts. I don't expect to get much for these, but these ones were called the Surge 7-inch shorts, and they were also a larger size in XXL. So that is why I think that they are moving. Plus, they're a neutral color, which increases value. I have these listed for around $34 on Depop. I received an offer for $25 just one day after having them listed, which I accepted, and that made my earnings $20.57 on Depop. All right, moving on to some other platforms. I also cross-list onto Poshmark. This is my second largest platform, meaning I cross-post everything there, but it performs the second best. And it makes sense because eBay has the most buyers, Poshmark has the second most buyers, and then I actually don't know if Depop or Mercari, but right now Depop performs so well for me, so that's why I chose that as a third platform, but I think it's the third largest platform. I actually sold a bundle with this item, and they were both Robert Graham shirts. Now, Robert Graham shirts are known for being like a dressier, kind of out there, artistic dress shirt, and they're known for what's called their flip cuffs, where when you flip the cuff over, there's like stuff on it. Now, some of these shirts can go for a ton, but these days I find they go for about $30 to $40 pre-owned, and these ones weren't anything special, although again, some of them are. I think a few What Sold videos ago, I showed you a short sleeve shirt that sold for like $80. So it really just depends. I recommend doing a Google lens with each one just to make sure you don't have one that sells for more than the others. But I had each of these listed for around $30 each. And like I said, they sold in a bundle, which somebody created, and then got an automatic bundle discount from me, which is something that you can set up in your Poshmark settings. These, one took 1 day to sell, the other took 2 days to sell, so about 2 days for both of them, and they sold for $24 each in the bundle. And that made my earnings for the entire bundle $38.40. And let me just show you, the tags vary, but it's typically embroidered in for the tag. Let me pull the other one up here. Here's another example. This is Robert Graham. Okay, next up, I'm still selling a lot of swimsuits, which I am actually thrilled for because we're moving towards fall. I'm already seeing a shift in my items, and so I'm really happy to be still moving some of the summer pieces. This is a brand I've never heard before called Gabby Fresh, and it was also a collaboration with Swimsuits for All. Anytime I see a collaboration, like period, full stop, I am looking it up. And this had a good following. So this one was a bikini set, and it was also new with tags. So it's going to help to significantly increase the value as well. And this one I ended up selling on an offer for $42. That sold within just one day of being listed, and that made my earnings on Poshmark $33.60. Here's that tag once again, and also just reiterating, if you ever see any kind of collaboration, you see two different brands on the tag, always look it up. You just never know. Okay, next up, another bundle. You guys probably remember these from the Goodwill outlet opening haul that I showed you. I found several, I think 3 Emo Jean and Willie men's graphic shirts. These were overlooked by other resellers. If you find them, they have a really good sell-through rate. Most things in this brand does, but especially their graphic t-shirts. And they can go for anywhere from an average of like $35 all the way up to $100. It just really depends on the graphic that you get. I'm personally a quick flipper. I want to price competitively to get things to move. I am not somebody who wants to price for the highest price that one has ever sold for and wait for the right buyer. That's not me. I want to keep things moving. So I listed these for about $50 each on Poshmark. It was $48 each. And this ended up selling in a bundle. They each sold for $32.50 each. And that made my earnings $52 for the entire bundle. Now these each took 3 days to sell, so they both got listed the same day. I think the third one also sold recently as well. But yeah, these are really great t-shirts to look for, frequently overlooked. Here's that label again. It is a really good brand. And again, depending on the graphic you have, could go for more or less. I just wanted to quick flip them. Next up, one of my favorite things to do is factor stacking. This is where you can take maybe a not so great brand such as Old Navy, one that doesn't typically perform well, but you have multiple desirable factors stacked on top of each other. So in this case, this is a pair of wide leg linen pants. They're also pull-on. They're also a great size. Lots of different things going for this, both style-wise and factor stacking. These particular ones were also new with tags. So because of that, I was able to increase the value. You guys know I've been flipping a lot of Old Navy wide leg linen pants. They've been selling so well for me. I'm a little bit sad that we're moving into fall because the linen stuff's going to stop selling as well. This was a great wash, rinse, and repeat for me. Nobody was picking them up, especially at the bins, so I could find them all the time and flip them for about $25. Very sad that this is going away, but I'll find something new to fill that slot. And that's kind of how I think of it, is like during each season, what can I fill, like let's say 10 things or less of wash, rinse, and repeat stuff that everybody else overlooks that sell for about $25 that help to pad my sales. This was definitely in that spot. I'll have to find something else for fall. But this one is fantastic. I ended up selling this for $29. I had it listed for $35 on Poshmark. I used keywords such as coastal, earthy, and beach. And these ones sold in just 3 days of being listed, and they're Old Navy. So great style, great factor stacking, plus they're new with tags. This made my earnings on Poshmark $23.20. Okay, next up, more Lululemon. Who would have thought? And it's on Depop. Theme here, definitely a theme. This is the Lululemon Men's Metal Vent Tech t-shirt. These still flip well for me in larger sizes, but I can usually only get about $25 for them, sometimes a little less with offers. So I don't expect to get much, but they do still flip if they're in larger sizes. And again, when you have a neutral color, that's going to increase the value and the sell-through rate as well in most cases. So this is a gray one. This one I had listed for around $29 on Depop. It sold on an offer in just 4 days, which I accepted for $23. And because of low fees, my earnings on Depop were around $22. Next up, my next fastest sale was one from Poshmark. This is one I recently got at a thrift store. I was actually semi-hesitant to pick it up, but it sold in just 4 days, so this is awesome. This is the brand Lucy and Yak. This is a very expensive brand with a very niche following. Now, I know them for their overalls, their jumpsuits. Those sell really well. I haven't really come across anything besides that, and these were a pair of very thick, heavy quilted pants, which is the main reason I even looked at them, saw the indicators of quality, and realized the brand. Now, I did look up Lucy and Yak pants. Not a lot of information on this. I really took a chance on these. They didn't have all the information, but I knew the brand pretty well, and I saw some solds for it. The reason I was so hesitant, besides just the fact that there wasn't a lot of data, was it's also just kind of a weird piece. They're pull-on, kind of fashionable quilted pants, but they were so thick and heavy that they almost felt like snow pants. So there was just a lot of contradicting factors going for it, and I really went back and forth. Because of that, I made sure to price this extremely competitively because I really wanted to make sure that these pants moved. So I only listed these for around $35 on Poshmark, and I received an offer for $28 in just 4 days of being listed, which I accepted. That made my earnings $22.40. So I am happy that I picked them up. Here's that brand once again. I will probably take more chances on this brand if I come across it in the future. Next up, this is a tried and true category and brand for me. Hiking boots, men's, women's, doesn't matter. I find in my area, at least, a lot of people pass on them, especially at the bins, I think, because they're heavier. I pick them up. Keens, Merrells, lots of different brands perform very well for me. These are a pair of Keen women's Voyager lace-up boots. Shoes are so easy to list. You just Google lens them. You have the style name and all of the information's there. They're really easy to look up and decide get or not get. These ones, unfortunately, did have some wear to them, and so I had to keep that in mind with pricing. I listed these for $57. Again, they were a women's pair of Keen boots in a size 10, which I think also helped. I used keywords like the style name, which is Voyager, hiking, outdoors, vented, and rugged. These ones sold in just 4 days of being listed for an offer of $47, which I accepted, and that made my earnings $39.01 on Depop. I'm loving these quick sales. We have so much to show you. We're only 4 days, in the 4-day realm. I'm showing you everything that sold in 2 weeks or less, 14 days or less. There's so much stuff. I don't know what was going on last week, but I'm very, very happy with the results. Okay, next fastest sale. This one sold in just 5 days. This is an excellent thing to look for. It is Patagonia. Patagonia baby stuff and kids stuff does really, really well. This is called a bunting snowsuit. Oh my gosh, these go for so much money. The exact style name is called the High Loft Down Sweater Bunting Suit. This was size 18, 24-month baby snowsuit, pre-owned, and it was in excellent condition, which you're not always going to find. Usually when I find them, they're stained. I still sell them stained because the sell-through rate is so high, just for a lot less if they're stained. But Patagonia baby stuff, definitely look for it. If you're not somebody, if you're like me, I used to never go to the kids section. Then I graduated to, I'll glance down the aisle, and if I see a puffer jacket, I'll look at it. And now I'm actually going through the kids section and cherry picking. So if you do nothing else, glance down and see if you see a bunting suit or some kind of a down puffer item. This one sold for $75 on Poshmark, which is just crazy for a pre-owned kids item. Another good thing about kids, by the way, is thrift stores typically don't price them up. So kids stuff at my stores are typically $3, maybe $4. So yeah, it can be really awesome. I think we got this one at one of the Goodwill openings, and this sold in just 5 days of being listed, and it's 100 degrees out. My earnings on this Poshmark order was $60. All right, next up, very similar to Lululemon, I've been finding and selling a lot of these. These are Bird Dogs shorts. The Bird Dogs men's shorts have a very good sell-through rate. You're not going to get a whole lot out of them these days, but they do sell pretty well. They also make pants too. These are called the Bird Dogs Chino Preppy shorts. We sold them for $36, which is pretty high for Bird Dog shorts, on Poshmark, and that made earnings $28.80. These ones sold in just 5 days. You're about to see a lot of the same stuff, so I'm going to move quickly through some of these. For instance, here's another Lululemon item. This is a pair of men's shorts, neutral color, larger size. Got the style name in there. These are called the Pace Breaker shorts. These actually sold for $35, which I believe was our full asking price on Poshmark. They only took 5 days to sell. That made my earnings $28. All right, these are something a little out of the ordinary for my store. These are a pair of Zara women's balloon leg jeans, and I did use those keywords as well. I used balloon, barrel, wide leg, and bloomer. I found these at a regular thrift store. I don't normally find a lot of jeans, let alone women's jeans, that perform well anymore, but these were a very on-trend style. So Zara is not a brand either that's very good. All about the style. On these ones, they were really cool. They were also only a size 2, if that tells you how popular the style is. I listed these for $46. They sold on an offer on Depop for $34 in just 6 days. I did accept that, and that made my earnings $32.30. Next up, another style-based piece. This one is by the brand Jolie and Joy. The brand itself, the reason this tag's ripped off is I think it only retailed for like $13-15, like retail, but it was such a good style. So it was new at tags, so we were obviously able to get more than retail for it. And that's the power of keywords. When you can connect them to the right buyer using what you know about style, can really make for a great piece. This one was only listed for 6 days, and it is a no-name brand, not a good brand at all. And it sold on an offer to watcher for around $25. Less than a week of being listed. That made my earnings on Depop $20.26. I used keywords on this one such as Edwardian, Renaissance, which I'm now noticing we're missing a C here, oversized, sheer, and Ren Fair. Lots of great keywords. I could have used so many more keywords with this, but these are the kind of style-based pieces you want when they're very on trend. You can lean them very heavily into one aesthetic, heavily meaning it just kind of fits the epitome of a certain style, plus it can go into multiple styles. So that's how you can really make a really good style-based piece. And if you're somebody that's like, I'm interested in style-based stuff, but I'm not really sure how to do it, it is a lot to learn. It's a different strategy than what you would normally do for brand-based stuff. And so because there's a lot of strategy involved, new ways of pricing, new ways of researching, comping, all of that stuff, because of that, I can't simply talk about it in like 2 minutes on a video, which is why we made a mini course inside of Resellers Edge University, and we do live calls about style-based sourcing as well each month. So if you want to get up to date on that, that is your best resource. The link to that is down below. It is just a reseller fast track program where you can learn different strategies to increase your income quickly. Style-based learning is just one strategy. There are hundreds and hundreds of videos. And like I said, we also go live and answer your questions every single week. Okay, next up, this is a brand-based piece. This is an anthropology by the brand Maeve. This looks to be like a newer label. I don't really get excited about Anthropologie pieces anymore unless they're substantial. Longer length dresses are substantial to me. I also have really good luck with shirt dresses. So this is like a full button shirt style dress. Shirt dresses are a style that perform well for me. So when I looked this up, I was excited. This is called the Bettina shirt dress. It has over a 100% sell-through rate. And this print seemed to be a little bit more popular than some of their other colorways as well. This one ended up selling for $55 on Poshmark. I believe I had it listed for around $65. This sold in just 1 week of being listed, making my earnings on Poshmark $44. Okay, next up, another pair of bird dogs. These ones sold for $30 on Poshmark in just 7 days of being listed, making my earnings $24. All right, this one might look familiar, or maybe not. I recently took my short form content and put it on just Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. That was a decision I made for my channel. So if you're not already following me on one of those short form platforms, I'd recommend it because I share lots of stuff just in short snippets that it's brand new content that you're not going to see here. And I definitely showed this in a recent reel. And it sold super quickly. This is a gorgeous Y2K dress. It was silk, it was cowl neck, it was lined. I used keywords such as Y2K, slip, midi, fairy, cowl, pastel, and Phoebe and artsy. This one I had listed for $52 on Depop. I also put this on an AI model just to give it a little bit more shape so the buyer could see themselves in it, because it was kind of a weird print for Y2K stuff. Just really wanted to dress it up. I don't do that with everything, as you guys know, and I think it worked. I had this listed for $52. I received an offer in just 8 days for $38, which I went ahead and accepted, again, to move that quickly. That made my earnings $36.11 on Depop because of the low fees. Next up, this is a really good bread and butter brand for me. It is J. Jill. I come across it very often. I definitely don't flip everything, but their longer length dresses do perform well for me. This one is a tiered boho maxi dress in a size large. I try to stick typically to plus sizes in this brand. However, if I can factor stack it with better stuff and the comp is there, I will get it. And the comps did look good for size large tiered maxi dresses. I listed this for $35 on eBay, and this ended up selling for my full asking price of $35 plus shipping in just 9 days. That made my earnings on eBay $26.39. All right, next up was a Poshmark sale. This one sold in just 10 days of being listed for $30. Rothy's used to be a bolo, used to get a lot more for Rothy's. Not so much these days. We still like finding them. Ballet flats and flats in general are pretty popular right now. You just can't get as much for them as you used to. So usually about 30 to 40 bucks is what I expect with Rothy's these days. These ones were the flat round toe knit flats, and they sold for 30 bucks on Poshmark, making my earnings $24. Another Lululemon men's item. This one sold on eBay. These are a pair of men's Lululemon pants, commission slim fit pants. These would have sold for a lot more, but they ended up having more flaws than we realized. So because of that, we priced very, very low. Whenever I have anything that the buyer has to overcome, I just want to like flip the item, get it moved quickly, get my money back, and reinvest into things without flaws. Sometimes we won't even list the item, but because this did have a strong demand, there was still enough meat on the bones. So we listed for $23 plus shipping. It did sell in 10 days at that drop price, and my earnings on eBay were still $20.46, which is pretty good for flawed stuff. Okay, next up, this is one of my favorite flips last week. I just love the fact that with style-based sourcing these days, you can take a nightgown and flip it as a dress, or you can take a slip intimates piece and flip it as a top or a dress. And it's one of my favorite things to do recently. So this is a Miss Elaine, not a brand you need to memorize, vintage nightgown. It was gorgeous. It had all the details of like a very cottagecore looking dress, looked very like Doen inspired. I also put this one on an AI model just so that the buyer could see themselves in it. And I do think that's what sold it so quickly. I did use keywords such as cottagecore, Edwardian, and oversized. I listed this pre-owned nightgown for $40, which is just crazy. Pre-owned. This ended up selling on an offer to watcher for around $34 in just 10 days of being listed, making my earnings $25.72. And by the way, these are offers that I'm using Nifty to like automatically do in the background. And I really do truly believe that this is how I'm able to capture sales quickly, because that automatic offer is getting to them as soon as they're interested in the item. If it would have been, an hour later or multiple hours later, like I used to do it, where I would go in bulk on eBay or Poshmark or wherever, and I would in bulk send out offers just a few times throughout the day, that's sometimes hours after they've liked the item and they've lost interest. So I do believe like a lot of these sales are coming from just getting that offer in a lot sooner when they're interested. And that's a strategy that you guys can use to maximize sales as well. Okay, next up, another dress. This is the brand Flax. This is a brand known for their linen. I am very picky with these brands these days, but I do like finding their dresses. Their more substantial pieces definitely do well, or their larger sizes. This one is only a size medium, but it is a longer length, midi length linen dress. I use keywords such as log and look, oversize, midi, coastal, and beach. And I listed this for $40. This one ended up selling on one of those automatic offers with Nifty for around $34. It took just 10 days to sell, and that made my earnings $26.49. Next up, we have another eBay sale, and we are closing, and I've got two more of things that sold in 14 days or less before I move on to the highest priced items, which I don't even know that there's much left now because there's so many that are in this one category. But this was one of them. This Portland leather goods bag sold for my full asking price of $85 in just 13 days, making my order earnings $64.91. If you guys don't know about this brand, it is such a good brand. It is overlooked. I think it's because their leathers are very like neutral. They're typically kind of distressed looking also, but it's how they're made. And because of that, a lot of people pass on them. Let me show you here. So look how plain this looks, right? To the untrained eye, you might not even notice that it says Portland leather right here, or you might think that it is distressed or maybe not that great of a piece, but you can definitely flip these quickly. So Portland leather goods. This one, I think we made a mistake. It is definitely not a mini crossbody tote. It is definitely a larger size, but a great piece nonetheless. And almost everything that you're going to search in this brand is going to have a high sell-through rate. So $85 full price on this one, and it sold in just 13 days of being listed. Okay, and last one of the fastest sales. This one sold in just 13 days of being listed. I got these through consignment. This is the brand UFOs, which I think I've only found in sandals before. These are a pair of sneakers, and they were new with the box. So yeah, UFOs makes men's sneakers. Here is their spell out right here. And honestly, anytime you see a big chunky heel on sneakers, lots of brands that are popular are doing that these days, so definitely look it up. And yeah, good sell-through rate, good prices on these UFOs sneakers. This one ended up selling for $78 on Poshmark, making my earnings $62.40, and these sold just 13 days after being listed. Let me see if I can get you. We have a picture. We do not. I was going to say there's probably a picture of the inside sole, but I can't see it here. So you'll have to rely on it being spelled out on the sole. All right. Next up, we're going to move into My highest priced items, these are not my fastest sellers, but they are the ones that sold for the most money. Some of them you've already seen because they were in the fastest category, but these are the ones that are left over. This is something I got in consignment. This one did unfortunately take a while to sell. This is a brand R13, which is a very high-end brand, especially for their denim pieces. This is a Japanese cotton shirt dress. Very, very pricey. I think we had it priced a little too high. We had this price for over $200 originally, but since it sat, we went ahead and accepted an offer of $150 on this piece. This sold in 143 days, so my goal was 90. Once it goes past that, we want to see items move. This ended up having an order earnings of $120. You definitely want to keep your eye out for this brand, but like I said, it slightly oversaturated, so depending on the piece you have, you might need to price a little bit more competitively to get it to move. I wish we would have originally done that. Okay, next up, this was something I got myself. This one has also sat, but I made a lot of money off of it. This one actually took 231 days to sell, and I paid up for this one. So this is a Wilson's Leather men's extra large leather jacket. This is like true 90s grunge. It's just a great piece overall, but this also was a lookalike to the one that Dean Winchester, I think is the character name, wore in Supernatural, so we put that in the title too to try to elevate that piece. This one was originally listed for much higher, I want to say around like $200. Since it sat, we dropped the price on it, and this ended up selling on an offer for $96.33, which 231 days later, I happily accepted to get that to move. That made my earnings $72.50 on this leather jacket. Comparing something, if it is the real thing or it looks enough like it, I love pairing it up with as seen on stuff, which if you guys look back on my channel, I have done quite a few as seen on bolo videos. All right, next up we have one of my favorite brands to find recently. This brand's kind of had a resurgence, meaning the sell-through rate kind of dipped for a while. It's back up, especially in men's pieces. This is the brand Faherty, and this one is a men's blazer, which I didn't realize that they sold, so that's why I wanted to show you guys this one. This was called the Inlet Knit Blazer in a size extra large. I do still love selling men's blazers, and I find that the sweater blazers, both men's and women's, are a category that perform well for me in fall and winter. So this sweater blazer I had listed for $75 because it was a great brand. This did sell in a bundle, so I don't know the exact payout of net profit on this one piece, just the whole bundle. But this one ended up selling with an item price of around $64, and it sold in just 42 days of being listed. Next up, Poshmark sale. This is a Lululemon item. This one's actually a women's Lululemon item. And similar to men's, very few things that have a good sell-through rate. One thing that does still sell well for me are their skirts. Tennis core, pickleball, preppy, athleisure, all of that does really well paired with skirts in this brand. So this one is called the Court Rival skirt. It's also a neutral color, and it's a decent size. So similar to the men's, if you're seeing the patterns here. I use keywords such as tennis, sport, active, athletic, workout, and gym. This sold for $50 on Poshmark, and this sold within just 45 days of being listed, which is really good, and that made my earnings $40. All right, next highest price one. This is a brand I haven't come across in a while. It is Planet by Lauren G. This one unfortunately did take a while to sell. It took 142 days. This brand has a very niche following. I would still pick it up. I think the reason this one sat is from my theory from the last What Sold video. A lot of my items that are sitting are all black items, and it's just hard to capture all of the details and what somebody is buying. It's harder for the buyer to see themselves in it. So I think that's why this one sat. But we used some great keywords with this, like old money, luxury, cable knit, And yeah, great piece. One thing I want to point out about this brand is if you find it, all their stuff is one size fits all. So if you see that, don't be discouraged by it. Sometimes I see one size fits all and I think, oh, this isn't a good brand. But this is a case where one size fits all is like the only thing that the brand does. Definitely do your comps with it, but I find that this brand is worth taking the risk on. Okay, next up, something else I've been selling a lot of are Free People jeans. None of the skinny jeans, but anything besides that, like wide leg, barrel leg, flare, boot cut, those have been performing really well for me. Obviously, you always want to look up the exact style. These were called the Palmer cuffed wide leg jeans, and they were also a size 32, which is a really good size to find in Free People. Usually it's the really small sizes that I find. These jeans sold for $40 on Poshmark, making my earnings $32, and they sold in just 53 days of being listed. All right, so that's it for some of the higher price sales and also the massive amount of faster sales. Now I want to take just a moment to share with you 5 pieces that are just noteworthy things that I'm looking for that didn't fall into the other 2 categories. First one are scarves. I've been selling a lot of scarves even in summer, and it's a category that whether you're getting it at the bins, it's super lightweight, or you're even getting it at thrift stores, they're typically only like $3. In my area, they can be some really good flips. And also I'm starting to sell a lot of style-based scarves as well, which I think is pretty cool. This is a vintage Y2K, like rainbow striped wool scarf. Use some keywords with that, including rainbow. I think if you see anything multicolor like this, where it kind of has a rainbow effect, and it's Y2K, it could be a good style-based flip. So I don't price these for much just because they are scarves. I listed this one for $22, but I probably paid just a couple bucks for it. It only took 40 days to sell, so really quick flip. For my full asking price of $22 on eBay, that made my earnings $17.10. Next up, another overlooked category are pajamas, and I actually think I found this at the bins. Not common for me to find a full set at the bins. I usually find one, like the pants or the shirt, and then I just hold on to it till I go through the whole bin to see if I find the other one. But these ones are actually near each other, which was awesome. And they're just a pair of J. Crew pajamas, which have a ridiculously high sell-through rate if you can find a set. So whether you're finding them at the bins or at thrift stores, definitely look them up. They have a really high sell-through rate. These ones I have listed for $32 on Depop. They sold in just 45 days for an offer around $23, which I accepted. That made my earnings $19.24. Next up, another great bread and butter that I'm picking up right now are rash guards. This will probably stop as we move closer to fall, but they're still selling well for me right now. And this is a brand in rash guards that surprisingly has a good sell-through rate. It is Land's End. This is a women's extra large floral rash guard in a size extra large. And I always use the keyword UPF on it. Vacation, swim, sun protection, beach, and resort. These sold on an offer for $22 on Poshmark in just 53 days of being listed. That made my earnings $17.60. Another bread and butter category I've been picking up are men's Under Armour sweatpants, and I'm specifically experimenting with the larger sizes, flipping them for around $25, and it's working. So these are a pair of men's extra large pull-on sweatpants, also neutral color. I just have to keep pointing that out. The neutral color is definitely helping along with the larger size. These I listed just over 90 days for my full asking price on Depop, which I thought was interesting, for $30. This made my earnings on Depop because of the low fees, $28.42. So you've probably noticed a pattern. Lots of Lululemon, especially men's, sells on Depop. Now I'm seeing other athletic wear sell there. So athletic wear in the men's department, specifically on Depop, seems to be a really good category. All right, last one of the noteworthy things. This is just a brand that I've come across pretty often lately, and it has a decent following. It really depends on what you get, but I wanted to show you guys so you wouldn't pass on it if you saw it. It is the brand Anne Fontaine. You can tell by this label that it's a higher quality brand, and they make, I would say, like dress shirts are what they're most well known for. Typically lighter colors like this, sometimes eyelet details, but they're very, very thick. And like I said, depends on what you have, but a pretty decent sell-through rate. So this eyelet shirt did have a few issues to it, spots. So I priced lower because of that, and I priced at $28. This one sold in just 25 days for that full asking price of $28 with those flaws. That made my earnings $21.07 on eBay. All right, and then I always finish up with 3 regrets that I had, sales that either took way too long or they didn't go as planned or they sold for very little. So this one is a category that I pick up a ton of and wash, rinse, and repeat in fall and winter. It is men's cardigans, and I did so well with them last year. This is one that just took forever. Luckily, I got it from the bins, so my cost of goods investment was not too bad. This is a men's express brown cardigan. This one took 212 days to sell, so very, very long. And it ended up selling for around $12 on eBay, which is really, really, really low. Why do I think this sat? I think we had great keywords. I think there just wasn't a wow factor to it. It's not thick. It's a thinner material. It's also a 3-button, which is just not as modern as other pieces. It's also brown, which brown is a trending color, but it's not a shade of brown that really has a wow factor. So I think that's why this sat. And sometimes you can do all the right things and things just sit. So this is a piece I'm definitely looking at as I move into fall and think about, you know, soon I'm going to be picking up a lot more men's cardigans, keeping this in mind as what not to get. Next up, another thing that sat for a while. This one took 230 days. This is an Alberto Macaulay, which is higher end brand, velvet, crushed velvet blazer. What can I say about this? I sell a lot of velvet pieces for fall and winter, but blazers is one category that's a bit of a harder sale for me. Tops I do really well with, dresses I do really well with, even skirts, but blazers not so much. So I think I'm going to use this as a lesson to not pick up so many of them unless they have a major wow factor, which this one had, you know, a little bit of extra details to it, but I think just not enough of a wow piece for me to continue getting. We did use some really awesome keywords with it, such as office siren, steampunk, fairy grunge. I think those are all great keywords. It didn't sell the item. So I think there's just an oversaturation of velvet blazers like this. This did end up selling for $33, which is a good price for us. And that made earnings $26.40. So we did make money, but at the expense of holding on to this item and tying up that cost of goods for 230 days. So I won't be doing that again. And lastly is another black velvet item. This one is a dress, and I'm repeating this pattern with you because for the last several videos, I've shown you that all black items are the ones that sit for me, even when they have great factors. So I either need to stop picking up so many of them, or I need to find a way to capture the item's details better. And some of you guys gave me some really good suggestions in last week's video in the comments, which I appreciate. So I'm currently working through that, but I'm looking at this dress and maybe something like this as the cover photo instead. But this has a lot of great details. It is a style-based piece. It's longer length, it's tiered, it's got puff sleeves. It did have a very Victorian vibe, witchy, whimsy goth, and it sat. So I really think it's due to just the buyer not being able to tell in the cover photo exactly what it is due to it being an all black item. It's just sitting for me. So this took 197 days to sell. This ended up selling on Depop for a dropped price of $24.50, which I am happy with. and that made my earnings around $22 on this piece. All right, guys, so that's it for what sold last week. I hope that you all enjoyed watching. This was a massive video to get ready, to upload, and I hope you appreciate some of the quicker sales because it was a ton. It was like a lot more than usual in that one category. Don't forget to subscribe down below. I do these what sold videos every week if you're new here and want to see more of them. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!